Hi guys, Kenna here of Hooping Mad, and I'm just here with this rather long tutorial on the 6 different options you have of reversing the direction of a reverse escalator using your knee or a combination of your elbow and your knee. So number 1 is using the left elbow and the left knee as shown here. So what you're going to do is start in your right hand and you're going to fold the hoop back behind you so the hoop rests on your left hip. The hoop is going to go forwards, flop down in its reverse escalator, and the left elbow is going to pull directly back to send it back. So shown here, you bring the hoop backwards onto the left upraised knee, and then when it gets to the bottom, you push back with that left elbow. You can catch with either the same hand or the opposite hand. So in this case shown from the side, you can see that you raise your left leg to let the hoop come all the way down, and then at the bottom of its swing, you push it back with the elbow. In this case, we're doing a standard half escalator folding backwards to land on the left hip from the right hand. You can also start in the left hand and do a slightly different sort of reverse escalator where you fold the hoop all the way across the body and still come round to that left hip and therefore the left knee and the left elbow. This provides a slightly different look and means you can start in the opposite hand. Variation number 2 is exactly the same as number 1, but from the other side. So you're going to start in the left hand, fold down to the right hip and the right elbow. So starting in the left hand, fold that down to the right hip, lift the right knee, and then use the right elbow to push the hoop up and off. Shown from the side, you can see that the hoop goes down low, and then you push your elbow backwards. As before, you can do a slightly different sort of reverse escalator to start in the right hand and still get to the right hip. You bring the hoop all the way around your body and across, landing on the right hip. This gives a slightly different feel and just means you can start from both hands. So number 3 is going to be the real official leg break, and in this case our leg is going to swing outwards to make the motion. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in the right hand and we're going to fold backwards so the hoop hits that left hip again. You're then going to raise the left leg slightly outwards, and as you do that, you're going to carry the hoop down so that your knee goes further in front of you across, and then when it gets to the bottom, you push that leg out, and that's what causes the force to make it come off the top. To show you that again, carry it in and push it right out. So remember, we're starting in the right hand and we're folding the hoop backwards onto the left leg crease. When you're doing this, really try and concentrate on getting the hoop at that point in the leg crease and bringing the left knee really high up so you can swing the leg out and get the power. That's really going to be dependent on getting in that leg crease. As you can see from here, I kind of wind up by coming slightly to the right first and then swinging out to the left. If you look at this escalator release, I'm just kind of dropping the hoop down. And what this does is means the hoop lands on your thigh and not in the leg crease. So what I want you to do is watch the right hand, and what happens is it pulls backwards as you release, which really pulls that hoop into the leg crease. So just try and remember that when you release to sort of pull your hand back as you're doing it. Okay, so number 4 is exactly the same, but this time the right knee is going to swing out. So you're going to start in the left hand and use that right knee to carry across the left, let it go all the way down, and then swing out. So we're starting in the left hand, we're going to fold the hoop backwards so it hits the right hip this time, and really try and bring it a bit lower than I'm showing here. You then bring your leg across to carry it down, and then swing really hard out to let it come up. As you can see here, you really want to aim for that leg crease, and this is a much more powerful knee up because of it. Again, really try and make sure that releasing hand, instead of just flopping down like this, as it releases, it pulls back and lets go on the pullback, and what this does is allows the hoop to go really into that leg crease and a more powerful knee. Okay, so we've done the 2 obvious ones, but what's next? Okay, so number 5 and number 6 are actually a swing in with the leg. This means that you start in the right hand and you use the right leg to swing in. So instead of lifting up the left leg, which you would normally do from the right hand, you lift up the right leg. And what that does is it gives a position on the top of the thigh for the hoop to land on, and then you can swing your leg in to power the hoop up. So again, you bring the hoop behind your back, you don't lift the leg that you've been lifting until now, you lift the opposite leg, and then you swing the hoop in to bring it up. Shown from here, you can see it's the opposite leg, and you can do a little carry out before you bring it in. Again, the release from the escalator is really key. If you release it just by your side, what happens is the hoop just kind of flops down wherever and lands on the middle of the thigh on the opposite leg, which you've got no power on. So really think about releasing and pulling that hand really far back. As you can see, my hand is really far behind me now. And what that does is it brings the hoop right into that leg crease, and wait till it gets all the way to the bottom before you power up. And last but not least, it's the same thing, but with the left knee. So we're starting in the left hand, and we're using the left leg to swing inwards. So the left hand folds back, and instead of picking up that right leg, which is what we've done in the past, what we're going to do is let it fall onto the left leg, and then swing the left leg inwards to make the motion. So as you can see here, lifting the left leg, I pull out slightly so that it's got a bit more wind up, and then I push inwards to make the hoop go up. Again, with this one, that release is really, really important. So make sure you don't do a sort of drop by the side. Just see my left hand is just kind of dropping by the side of my body, and then there's nowhere for the hoop to go. So as you release, really pull that left hand backwards, and what that's going to do is put the hoop in the left crease of the leg, and if you bring your leg up high enough, carry it out, and there's a space for you to push in. I actually find this one easier than the normal one. So I've been using a 33-inch hoop up to now, and I just wanted to show you the difference when you're using a smaller hoop. What's going to happen with a smaller hoop is, again, it's going to be very difficult to get the hoop to go into that crease. So it's just remembering that the placement really wants to be slightly lower than you think when you get to the crease, because that's going to give you a little bit more power. So when you come round, try and be a bit lower than you would imagine, and that's really going to help with getting that hoop in the right position. And just to show you that on the other side, you've got your left hand, and what you're going to do is just really aim for that crease. So instead of folding and then dropping, because you're not going to be able to find the power for that, although the escalator will work perfectly, you really want to make sure the fold happens on that leg crease. So when you pull round with a smaller hoop, really think about going lower. Also think about pointing your toes. I have a tendency on my left leg to just kind of flay my foot out, but as you can see on my right leg, I'm quite pointy. So what about bigger hoops? So I actually found it a little bit easier to find the placement actually with the bigger hoops, although I do feel they feel a little bit clunky and aren't as easy to throw up because of their weight. But in terms of placement, it is easier and it all works. So give it a go. And then basically you can combine them with all sorts of different sorts of escalators. Those escalators from the front, work with all of them, maybe a flourish into an escalator, and just have a go with both hands, trying different legs and getting used to this motion. I've really just started using these, and I really like the fact that there's a lot of flexibility in them, and I hope this tutorial was useful. And yes, thanks very much for watching. Bye!